just normal stuff that you buy online. What if you could buy, I don't know, whatever you wanted? Like, let's say, drugs. You see, Ross believed that all drug use was a personal choice, and the government should stay the hell out of people's personal choices. Plus, Ross believed the war on drugs was a total failure, which we talked about here on Dark History, remember? It was. Thank you. So by making a website that ignored the government and their quote unquote war on drugs, Ross saw an opportunity to create the kind of freedom of choice he wanted to see in the world. Trailblazer. Now, the biggest problem Ross faced was that, well, drugs are illegal, and selling drugs online also illegal. I mean, you can't just like set up a normal website with drugs for sale and call it a day. And this is where something called dark web comes. The dark web, if you don't know, is a super secret hidden part of the internet that you can't access on a normal web browser. The dark web is hidden behind a lot of encryption. So you need a special web browser to access it. And unlike cryptocurrency, it's actually it is anonymous. So why exactly is it called the dark web? Well, the dark web is so anonymous and unregulated, it's an easy place for journalists or whistleblowers from across the world to avoid censorship. But because of the lack of regulation, it also leaves people on the dark web vulnerable to illegal activity. The dark web is home to everything from illegal guns for sale to stolen credit cards and social security numbers. This makes the dark web one of the world's biggest black markets in illegal activity. The kind of activity that usually happens in the shadows, hence dark web. You get it. So, to Ross, the dark web was the perfect home for his brand new website. And cryptocurrency? Oh, perfect for anonymous transactions. On December 31st, 2010, Ross wrote a New Year's resolution into his personal diary that said, quote, in 2011, I am creating a year of prosperity and power beyond what I have ever experienced before.
No,
This website is going to become a phenomenon.
Sorry, I love you, but
about it, not knowing that I created it. And at the beginning of 2011, Ross closed down Good Wagon Books for good and officially launched his brand new website, which he called Silk Road. But first, let's pause for an ad break. Shopping for clothes and I mean, I just purged out my closet, which felt amazing, but the thought of replenishing my wardrobe, and that's, you never know if like things are gonna fit when you buy online. Turns, and sometimes you don't even know like where to start. But this season, let Stitch Fix all that hard work. It's really easy and fun to get started. First, you're just gonna take a few minutes to set up your Stitch Fix style profile, answer a few questions about what you like to wear, what you don't, and how open you are to trying new styles. I was surprised to find out how detailed it was, from asking how garments fit, going to outfits, getting an idea of like what your style is, and then Stitch Fix expert stylists go to work. They're finding items for you. Every piece is handpicked for you and size, style, making it the best way to discover clothes that make you feel and look your best. Stitch Fix sends you 5 to try on at home. Keep what you love and send back what you love. I absolutely love that Stitch Fix makes returns so easy. I can sometimes be bad at returning much, but Stitch Fix gives you everything you send whatever you don't want back. Shipping, returns, and exchanges are not only free, plus there's no subscription required. Try once, set up automatic free. There are no hidden ever. Sign up for Stitch Fix and get and sign up today at stitchfix.com/darkhistory. Get $20 off your first purchase. That's stitchfix.com/darkhistory. Get $20 off your first purchase. Limited time offer. Purchase days of sign up. Now let's get back to today's story. When you hear the name Silk Road, close your eyes. What do you picture? Because I picture that. Isn't it like that vegan milk? It's not vegan. Isn't it called Silk something? I think of that. Well, that's not why Ross called it Silk Road. Ross actually got the name Silk Road from a real thing in history. Hence the name Dark History. Full circle. Full circle. I can't talk today. More than 2,000 years ago, there was a trade route that carried everything: porcelain, cannabis, spices, gold, gunpowder, and silk. But it wasn't just goods that were traded on the original Silk Road. China. It was religion, philosophy, and information. All of these things would lead to innovations in technology that changed the world forever. And that's why Ross chose the name Silk Road. I mean, he was hoping his website would do for the internet what the original Silk Road did for the real world. But there's one other thing we need to know about the original Silk Road for this story. There was a third thing that spread across the Silk Road. Can you guess? It was the bubonic plague. Remember bubonic plague? Bubonic plague? So even though the original Silk Road spread ideas and goods, it also spread disease and death. LOL. Anyway, Ross launched his site, Silk Road, in February of 2011. But he had one problem. He freaking didn't have access to the things he wanted to sell on Silk Road, aka he didn't have the drugs to sell, you know? Not to mention that because of how the dark web worked, nobody was going to find his website by accident like they would like on the normal internet. So Ross needed product and he needed a way to get people to his site. So one day Ross went online and found out that it's actually really freaking easy to make homemade hallucinogenic mushrooms. Good for him. He's just DIY king over here. So Ross started his website off by selling shrooms. And to promote his magic mushrooms, Ross posted on forums all over the normal internet under the screen name Silk Road. He advertised this amazing new website on the dark web, which is also called Silk Road. And you can buy magic mushrooms there. So head on over and get started now. Ross grew 10 pounds of mushrooms and sold all 10 in under a week. I'm sorry, just under a week. I feel like that just makes it. Almost immediately, other people started to notice Silk Road's potential, and they wanted in on the action. So other people started selling drugs on Silk Road. Silk Road was already becoming a success. But in June 2011, things really started to take off when the website Gawker wrote a glowing review of Silk Road on the normal internet. The article went viral, and within weeks, Ross pulled in his first $1 million. Yeah, within weeks. Good for him. But the busier the website got, the less time Ross had to enjoy his found wealth. Ross was the only person working on Silk Road at this time, and he was starting to get a little overwhelmed. Okay? He knew that in order to sustain the website's success, he would need some freaking help. And that's when Ross received an email from somebody named Variety Jones. Now, Variety Jones wasn't this guy's real name. His actual name was Roger Clark, but Ross, he didn't know that. Like everybody else Ross met on the dark web, Variety always just went by his screen name. We don't know too much about Variety Jones, except that he was an internet hacker who noticed a hole in Silk Road's code that could allow other hackers to steal thousands of Bitcoin from Silk Road's customers. Now, even though Variety Jones could have taken down Silk Road, he didn't want to. In fact, Variety Jones wanted in. So he emailed Ross about this hole in Silk Road's code, and Ross fixed it like right away. And then the two kept talking, quickly becoming good friends. And eventually, Variety Jones even became Ross's mentor in how to run a criminal enterprise. Now, Variety had a lot of experience committing crimes on the internet, or at least that's what he told Ross. And Variety gave Ross an important piece of advice. What Silk Road was doing was illegal, so Ross needed to protect himself from the government. And in order to do that, Ross needed a new name. And Variety even had that figured out too, obviously. The name he said Ross should use was the Dread Pirate Roberts. So, Dread Pirate Roberts. Look, I'm not going to say that 100 times, okay? This name comes from the movie The Princess Bride. Remember that movie? The character of the Dread Pirate Roberts is the most fearsome pirate in the world, but the twist is, he's not a real person. Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, it's a name adopted by somebody who proved themselves to be the best pirate around. So whoever the Dread Pirate Roberts is Whenever they get tired of being the dread, I'm gonna call them DPR, okay? Whenever they get tired of being the DPR, they can just hand the name off to somebody else. Variety told Ross this would be like the perfect cover, you know? If the law ever came down on Ross, he could pass the name off to someone else and pretend he was just filling the role, right? Yeah. So, in early 2012, Ross officially retired his old Silk Road username and deleted all his old forum posts about mushrooms on the internet so he could cover his ass, and then officially became known as the Dread Pirate Robert. Under his new name, Ross hired some employees to help him run Silk Road by using an encrypted chat program on the dark web and paid them in Bitcoin. They must be super rich now. They all had weird screen names. Cirrus, Digital Alchemy, Smedley, and like all of them are anonymous, but all of them way more experienced in drug crimes than Ross. Within months, Silk Road was completely overhauled by Ross and his new employees. One historian described the new and improved Silk Road as user-friendly and, quote, almost hilariously similar to Amazon, complete with a cart in the upper right-hand corner. But, you know, instead of TVs, makeup, or pet products, there were helpful icons for cannabis, ecstasy, opioids. Sorry, I'm struggling with opioids. Here we go. And then there was even a seller's guide section that had like helpful